Hello, welcome to the shed. In today's video we're going to be revisiting the dovetail alignment jig that I made in a previous video. I'll leave that link below for anyone who hasn't seen it. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use the dovetail alignment jig and why I believe you need one. Hope you enjoy. Today I've got a couple of pieces of wood ready to go here. We've already got a dovetail on this one so I can show you how this jig works. So let me bring it in here and we'll jump straight in and I'll show you how it works. So we've got our jig here and we've got our vise open and we already have our tail board here ready to go. So we've got our tail on here and we want to be transferring it on to our tail board, which is this one right here. So what we do is run our jig into the vise like this. Then we run our board in that we want here like this. Make sure it's up against your fence and just loosely do your vise up just to hold that board in place. Then we get our tail board like this and we push this one down. Make sure it's aligned up against that. Just check down in here before we lock this in place that it's all aligned just down here in the vise. So you just want to make sure that this board here is pushed up and aligned against your fence. So now that that's aligned, we know it's all flush here. Lock the vise down to hold it. Now what you can do is obviously bring your board up. You're going to level it on the edge of your board like you normally would, just here. Hold it in place, hold it against your fence like this, and you can go ahead and mark your tails like so. And what this has done is, you know that the top board and your tail board are aligned because you know your jig is aligned, so you know that everything is aligned as long as it's pushed up and referenced against both your fences. So now what I want to do is just talk through a couple of the reasons I believe that a jig like this is really good, and it just helps to solve a lot of problems that you might run into, especially when you're a beginner doing dovetails. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert, but I've done quite a few dovetails now, so I know a few of the things that happen and that go along the way that put discrepancies into your dovetails and can cause some problems down the line. So this jig just helps to remove a lot of that. So I'm going to bring it in here and I'm just going to talk through a couple more things that can go wrong and how this jig sort of fixes that for you. So you're in here marking your dovetails and your board slides like this. Now if you didn't have some reference to get it back to square, you'll be in here on the side using your chisel, trying to align it up like this, and it might keep moving, and it's just hard to keep that alignment square in that situation. So at least with this fence, if you move and you've already got a mark here for your dovetail, or even if you don't, you can bring it back up, flush your board off here, push it against your fence, and you know that it's nice and square to the board here, and you can go back and continue marking your dovetails, knowing that the alignment has not really changed. But if you're aligning it loose and you haven't got some reference point to bring it back to, you do add more discrepancies, and you could put your lines a little bit off on your dovetails, and you might want to be sawing a little bit further inside your lines and then chisel back to get a nice tight fit, or you could end up with gaps in the dovetails. Like if you've seen me make this video, I had that problem, and then I ended up with a few gaps within my dovetails. Now the other thing is that it just saves you a lot of time. Otherwise, if you've seen the way I made this video, I put my hand plane on the side, line the tail board up with that, rest it on something over there. But with this jig, because I've got a long reference through here, I don't have that same problem. Because I've got that long reference, it sits flat, it lines up. Even if you've got a longer board, you can still hold it up this end, and you know that it's going to be sitting flat here and lining up perfectly along with your tail board. So you can see this little jig actually does help quite a bit just to remove any discrepancies, and I believe especially as a beginner this actually helps quite a bit. So you can see just by having a simple jig such as this dovetail alignment board, it definitely makes it a lot easier to align your dovetails and also deal with any discrepancies that come along with movement of your boards and everything, and it just helps to eliminate a lot of the issues that you could develop while doing dovetails, or especially as a beginner learning to do your dovetails. And I just feel that even if you haven't done dovetails for a while, having a jig like this just allows you to speed that process up and means that you just don't have to think about it as much. It's just a automatic, grab your jig, line them up, get your dovetails done, and you don't have to worry about it sliding around as much. And if you do, you can easily just line the dovetails back up and mark them onto your pin board. So if you like this video and you'd like to see some more videos about workshop jigs and different things on improving your workflow through the use of jigs, check out the video down here where I make a nice bench hook, which will help in your cross-cutting at the bench. And if you'd like to support me a little bit further, please consider liking and subscribing down here. It really does help this video out and help it get out to more people so they can learn like you. And if you'd like to support me a little bit further, please consider checking me out on Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/aussiewoodshed. And I want to put a big thank you out there to my patrons on Patreon for your continued support. Bye for now.